So as we continue to look at the risk factors for conditions such as Alzheimer's, for Parkinson's, depression, anxiety, heart disease, stroke, respiratory issues, cancer is highly anaerobic. Cancer genesis is a low oxygen event. So how do you get rid of cancer? Well, one could argue that you just flood the system with what it doesn't like, and that would be oxygen. So I can't overestimate the importance of trusting that all that matters in life is what you do with your next breath. As I am in these very complicated books and concepts, mathematical formulas, expectations of tasks, homework and such, I have to remind myself that before most anything I do, I take a breath first. And I know that if I take a breath, all my procedural mechanisms will work together at the subconscious level to incorporate everything I am experiencing and the knowledge that I am intaking. It will oversample it. It will do much of the work. And I just get to dress up on Sunday morning, go to church and whatever. I went to the park yesterday. I'm really having a life as I'm doing this work. So another article I read this week is about top-down processing from the frontal lobe. Now, there is a whole theory that there are executive loci of executive function, working memory, planning, evaluating, calculating in our frontal lobe. It's very wonderful part of the brain. It's new part of the brain. We've talked about it before. It's the wild, wild west. Woohoo! So what makes it so special? Why are we so special that we have this? And I think monkeys and primates have different formation that has a little less of this. And as we all know, our DNA sequence is not that much different from a banana, I think, or certainly a primate. Very tiny percentage of 1%, something silly, something unbelievable. You know, aren't we so smart? But we do have this area, and so this paper was about that all of this happens here, and it tells the rest of the brain what to do. Okay, doesn't need much oxygen to work in one little spot, does it? So that is the philosophy that's coming down the pipe. It's a Canadian paper. I don't remember the author at this point, but a recent one. That's that this frontal lobe works and just tells the rest of the brain what to do. Well, how's that for micromanagement? How's that working out for you? How's that working out for the world? What I am saying is that the cerebellum, which holds 50% of our 100 billion neurons in the brain, 50 billion neurons in here, 50 billion, that's just the ballpark, but it's something like that, it's a lot, are here. The brain is very oxygen greedy. These need oxygen. The cerebellum, procedural, you can internalize memories, internalize events. The cerebellum is connected to all frontal executive memory, short-term memory, working memory, emotions, motor systems. The cerebellum is connected to 14 established main areas of the brain. Now, this paper talked about the frontal lobe going to, I don't know, 6 or 7 main ones, maybe 8, but 6 or 7. So not much research is done on the cerebellum because it's so small, and it's kind of hard to get to, and it's hard to image, but that's where, that's going away. That'll be dealt with, I think. So, the thought that this controls everything doesn't hold water for me. The idea that fueling the entire brain and using this frontal lobe to say, I want to be a neurosurgeon. I want to be the International Minister of Culture for the United Nations and help this world, in a pivotal sense, change. I want to learn how to figure skate. We'll see if that happens. But I have a chance by staying oxygenated, putting on the skates, stepping on the ice, and letting my cerebellum do all the work. I have a chance by taking one breath at a time, opening these books, one paragraph, enjoying the work that I'm learning, enjoying the depth, enjoying the concepts, enjoying and just kind of going on for the ride. So my frontal lobe makes all the plans. I don't plan results. Don't do that. You will be disappointed or postponed. And life unfolds. The brain unfolds to match that vision. That is a bottom-up philosophy. And in my experience, my research, top-down does not work optimally. Bottom-up is the ticket. How do you do that? One breath at a time. There are other philosophies and other ways to enable optimal brain. You hear that siren in the back? We're not engineered to listen to sirens. We're not engineered. Evolution has not prepared us to process sounds like that. Evolution has prepared us to hear the chicken in the woods so we can cook it, smell it, eat it, and have a little bit of glucose to last us for the next week or 7 if we have to. And in that situation, if you can imagine not having food for a few days, not being able to catch anything, not being able to, nothing's in bloom, we're hungry. What do you feed on? What does the system feed on? When it finds water, it immerses itself in water. It tanks up with water. That's another thing we'll have to talk about, how to stay tanked up with hydration. Without water, what does it have to feed on? One breath at a time. That's what it feeds on, oxygen. And it's a powerful fuel source. There's almost a very large, endless reserve of glucose in the brain. You're not going to run out of glucose for weeks. You run out of oxygen, there's only a 2 to 3 time reserve. So if you're not breathing, you can only have a thought, the same thought 3 times without it being affected by hypoxia. That's what it's saying. So in fMRI readings, it is looking at, it has to look immediately after a task to see what brain area has been depleted of oxygen. And then they can see there's no oxygen there. And then it has you rest to replenish through blood oxygen supply, cardiovascular, and then it can take another test. Stay tanked up to enable so that the heart doesn't have to overwork and you get stroke or cardiovascular and stroke. All these top killers are hypoxic related. What does this mean? What does this mean? This means that we have to change. This means that there are big changes ahead for us. Look at the changes. I'm trying to live by example. 4.5 years ago, I developed an interest in neuroscience, got a master's degree in the subject, and now I'm at Johns Hopkins. So, one breath at a time. That's all I knew I need to do. Somehow I knew this, probably from singing all those years. I'm not sure. The power of oxygen in the brain, in the health, And so, and bottom-up processing, fueling the entire brain so that I can go and study biostatistics all afternoon, enjoy it, be amazed by it, and know that it's being processed out of my control. I just get to enjoy one paragraph, one concept at a time. And everything in life is like that. Cooking, going to the park, going to the aquarium, you know, being a friend among friends, worker among workers, being of service to my colleagues and society. There are principles that put this oxygen to work for my benefit, for me to be the best human being I can be. I have to help others. I have to be often thinking of others while I enjoy this incredible journey. I have to look for truth. I have to keep looking for truth and saying how can I heal this planet? How can I help? How can I help everybody? That's how I help myself. These are principles. I have to believe that there's a force much bigger than my little brain going top down, top down, top down. No, it's not a top down journey. Except that the forces of light, the energy of our universe expanding, I believe, has a big effect on oxygenated brain tissue at the very cellular level, and the synaptic level even, and that enables a genetic expression that fuels it and enables it. And when you'll see when in studies of the God thing, that when people believe that there's a loving God, a loving force, a good force of life, a good purpose for this wonderful energy that we are a part of, this good acting purpose on this universal energy, that the brain deactivates. Ego is gone. Micromanaging is gone. Fear is gone. Gotta get rid of fear. Competition is not part of the picture. We get into a flow of passion and interest because our visions have said, I want to do this, I want to do this and this, I want to do all of these things. And our brain, thinking of that, becomes deactivated, basically. Nothing is activated. So I'm able to respond to whatever. I'm not in fear. I'm looking for truth. I have to be somewhere at 1 o'clock, but you know, I'll be there. Life unfolds. And the timing for me is spot on perfect. If I rush it, I'm creating anxiety, and it's usually a waste of time to rush. So these principles of being on a platform, an oxygenated platform, hydration is close behind, and we're going to look at that too. If you know, once oxygen has done its hypoxia has done its damage, and it damages these little mitochondria that live in all of our cells, hundreds, thousands of them, that enable everything. They fuel everything. They fuel synapses in the brain. They're clustered at the end of these arms and dendrites and tentacles that come from neurons. They're clustered at the ends of them to zip information across. They feed on oxygen. A little bit of glucose and a little bit of oxygen, but they need the oxygen. They got plenty of glucose up here, not plenty of oxygen. So they're fueled on oxygen. So in aerobic systems, the brain, the heart, the lungs, mitochondria die when they don't have oxygen, and they take the cell with it. When they die, the cell dies. So 60% of mitochondria are gone and destroyed by hypoxia before you get a symptom of Parkinson's. And it is a mitochondrial-based disease. 60% are gone before you get plaque accumulation in the brain. Because once the mitochondria are gone, metals are loose and running rampant. The cell, when it destroys itself, it's full of potassium. That is the core of plaques. And there's also surrounded by high hydrogen. So that's another issue we're going to look at with hydration. That water has an emergent property. Hydrogen and oxygen magically come together to create water. Scientists still don't know how that happens. Could never imagine that would happen on its own. Well, the brain is mostly water too. We're mostly water. The brain is mostly water. If you look at a picture of an Alzheimer's brain compared to a healthy, full, fleshy brain, it's all shriveled up. It also loses weight, and there's low intracellular hydration levels. So, is the brain desperately prying oxygen out of water? Is it? So maintaining a hydrogen level, staying oxygenated, is the ticket to healthy aging. So that's, I guess that's enough out of me today. I make these videos because I care about humanity. I care about this planet recovering, and I have done a tremendous amount of work and research to validate these suggestions, and I'm so grateful that you're listening, if some of you have stayed through to the end, and there's more to come. This is my first week at Johns Hopkins. There's lots more to come. Healthy aging, healthy living, feeling a life of purpose, enjoyment, passion, and in the flow of life. I am in the flow of life. Oxygen enables that. And these other principles that we've talked about, and we'll continue to talk about, and I'll remind you of. And there are other dimensions of it. I'm not hitting every little speck and corner, but the principle is the same. Help others, tell the truth, get rid of fear, stay oxygenated, believe in something working out there. At the end of the day, I feel my life is full of miracles. I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think it is just genetic expression. All my ancestors expressing themselves through my movement and my mind. It's possible. But at this stage of my scientific research, I do believe that something has a personal agenda for me. And I don't know exactly what that is. It could be all of my ancestors expressing themselves genetically through my genetic material. It's not too far-fetched. But until I can find a lot more evidence on that, and it's coming down the pipe, then I do believe that something much bigger than me, much wiser than me, bigger than anything on this campus, something bigger than all of us, bigger than the universe itself, is making my life unfold. And as a scientist and as a human being, that's my final decision, at least today. And I don't see that changing. There's that chicken. Have a great day.